Welcome to the Aligned and Magnetic podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Ashley. I'm an ICF certified business alignment coach, and they call me the money mindset and manifestation queen. I'm here to help you make your vision for your life and business a reality and doing it in a way that lights you the fuck up. If you're ready to build an aligned, magnetic, and profitable business so that you can live the life of your dreams, you are definitely in the right place. In this podcast, I promise to provide you with the raw lessons, the tools, and powerful questions to help you on the way to creating success your way. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's dive in. Hi loves. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Aligned and Magnetic podcast. I am so excited that you're here. I have so much in store for you. Make sure you listen until the end to find out how you can be part of the podcast launch giveaway. So today I really want to dive into kind of explaining, I guess, like who I am, giving you a little bit of an introduction, but most importantly, sharing with you my story because, I find that when I share my story with my clients, my story gives them permission and empowerment in some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to give you first the introduction that I often give, when I'm starting a video or whatever it is. So obviously my name is Lauren Ashley. I'm a business alignment coach, a money mindset and manifestation queen, and I am here to help you build an aligned, magnetic, and profitable business. I quit my job in 2018. I moved to Mexico to build my dream business online so that I could have the freedom to travel. And honestly, I hired a coach. I did all of the things I was supposed to do. I followed all of the advice to build a successful business that made money. But I kind of found that when I let go of all of the strategy and followed my intuition as my primary strategy and my guide, I guess, in business, that's when I actually started to see real results. That's when my program started to book out. I had my first $13,000 launch. I replaced my 9-to-5 income. And I actually went from earning $1,000 a month to bringing in $5,000 to $8,000 a month, or maybe $4,000 to $8,000 a month in my business. But there's a whole lot more to my story than just that, of course. So in this episode, I want to share what those gaps are and share with you, what really happened. How did this all come to be? So I grew up in a small town, St. Catharines, Ontario, in Canada. And my whole life, I was pretty, decently good at school. I kind of struggled in science and sometimes in math, but for the most part, I was good at school. I went to class. I followed the rules. I did what I was supposed to do. I ended up going to university. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew I was really interested in psychology. So I applied. I got into all of the universities I applied to, but in order to save money, I decided to stay close to home. So I went to school where I grew up, and I lived at home until I was 23, I think, maybe 24. And this whole time I, was studying. I thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder. Well, first I thought I was going to be a psychologist. And then I realized I didn't want to go to school for 11 years or whatever. So I was I'll just climb the corporate ladder, make a ton of money, and build a side hustle on the side. It's funny because I kind of always had this feeling that I needed to work on for myself and build my own business, but I didn't know what that meant. So when I was in university, I actually started a multi-level marketing business. I started with Arbonne, and I loved the products. I hated how people were telling me to sell. Shocker. I feel like there's a lot of strategies like copy and paste this, do this in MLM, and honestly in the business world in general. And it just really didn't jive with me. From the get-go, it felt inauthentic. It felt like there was an ulterior motive. I felt like I was being sneaky. And this mentality kind of brought itself into my coaching business when I started health coaching. I'll get to that in a minute. But what happened was when I was working my corporate career, which, I got paid really well. It made sense to stay. I got to travel. I had benefits. Like, it was a pretty good job. I only worked 9 to 5, sometimes a little later, but for the most part, it was fair. But somehow I ended up burning out, and my job was kind of headed in a direction I didn't want it to go in. My contract ended up not getting renewed, even though that's what they had promised. And I built this whole 5-year plan around staying in that role. I was going to go get my MBA, and, climb the corporate ladder, like I said. And so, my contract got cut. And the craziest thing is that this whole time, on my lunch breaks, and after work and on weekends, I would spend my time dreaming and trying to take steps forward to build my own business. And, I always said, like, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to travel. I want to be a digital nomad. So I would sign up for free masterclasses and webinars. And, I started to do some stuff on social media, and I was trying to do my MLM business, but that wasn't feeling quite right. And it just didn't really line up. Like what I said I wanted was not what I was doing. I thought that, in order to build my business, it would have to be like 5 or 10 years down the line. It would take time. So might as well climb the corporate ladder in the meantime. And then I'll transition into being in business. The universe obviously had different plans for me. So my contract didn't get renewed. I got another job in the meantime, thankfully. The office was way better, but I was way overqualified for the position, so I was bored. And that's when I kind of did some numbers, and I was like, you know what, like, I had just gotten married to a Mexican, and he was going to come to Canada. I did the numbers, and I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, we're going to be stressed out. This sounds horrible. I don't want to have to support somebody. Which is kind of crazy, right? I don't want to have to support somebody all on my own. Like, that's a lot of responsibility to take on. I need to go and live my life. I had been studying and doing the responsible thing for years. And it was kind of just time, to explore, to do something new and different. And so I decided to take the leap and move to Mexico and really just go all in on my business. Prior to that, I had been doing a lot of behind the scene things, like building out course programs that I could sell and building my website. And so when I got to Mexico, I actually realized, like, okay, it's one thing to build all of this stuff on the back end, but if you're not at the forefront of your business, like telling people about it, how the fuck is anybody going to come to you, And that was one of my first really big lessons. And one of the reasons that I hired a coach, because I realized, like, okay, I'm great at building websites. I started my career in marketing and building websites. And so I'm familiar with that. I can do all the back end. But when it comes to really putting myself out there and facing my fears of being judged or rejected, I definitely needed to work on that. You can't hide out in business and expect to make money that way. That's when I decided to hire a coach, even though it was like way outside my comfort zone. I think I invested like maybe $5,000 or $6,000 in this coach. And it definitely got me to where I needed to be. I started to put some systems in place, which was great. But what I noticed was during this time, I actually ended up down a path that I don't really know how I got there. There's a lot of stuff in business, like these rules that you have to follow, and I'm kind of a rule breaker, but I was doing everything I thought I had to do in order to be successful because I didn't know any better. Like, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, So I just kind of followed the path. I followed what I thought I was supposed to do. And then I realized, like, I had signed one client, I think at $4,000, or maybe it was a little bit less than that. No, I think it was around that amount. And that was great. I loved working with her. I had sold a couple of smaller, like maybe $100 courses, sold some like $22 bundles. But so really, and I was doing some side work in marketing, which was great. And that's what was really keeping me I guess, afloat. I wouldn't say sustainable, but afloat. And so, I kind of got to this point where I was super frustrated. All of my peers were seeing these results. I was over here helping my peers make $5,000, $10,000, like change their mentality, step into who they really are. And then I was over here like, when's my time coming? Like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? I was showing up weekly, showing up all the time with messages and all of this stuff. I was really putting in the work. I started being super consistent. And then, I just had this realization of like, okay, something's not really right here. Something is not in alignment. And that's when I realized I was forcing a lot and I was doing a lot of the masculine things. I feel like I'm kind of an extremist. So I'll either spend a lot of my time in the feminine, doing relaxation and creative projects and visualizing and energetic work and the manifestation and shifting my beliefs and all of that stuff. But then, if you're not doing the masculine of putting yourself out there and telling people about what you have to offer and serving people, sharing from the heart, then you don't really have a business now, do you? So then I flip-flopped. I went the complete other way, the other direction, and I was super in the masculine and doing everything, that I thought I had to do and focusing on the numbers and like making sure that my content was like clickbait or click-worthy and all of this stuff. And, I got to the point where I was like, this sucks. Like, I'm not happy. I hate this. I'm not even getting good results. Like, fuck it. I'm just going to focus on what I love. And during this process, I had been learning about human design. And I think it was really human design that opened my eyes to the fact that, like, girl, you need to be lit the fuck up about what you're doing in order to magnetize results to you. And, you're hearing these words aligned and magnetic or alignment and magnetize. And these, I just built this new framework called the Aligned, Magnetic, and Profitable Business Framework. And it's a framework I've actually been teaching for the past 4 years. And all of a sudden this year, it came to me like, damn, like this is the framework. This is what I do. This is how I help people. And this is what's required, at least in my mind, and for people who relate to me, this is what's required to build a successful business. So finally, I let go of this strategy and I was like, I'm just going to show up. I'm going to share what's on my heart. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to connect with my people. And I'm going to talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. And that is when I started making money. That is when people were like, damn, I like her. Like, I want to work with her. And so once I made that shift, I remember it was at the beginning of COVID, I really started to get a lot more engagement. I started to get a lot more inquiries. I remember I launched Rise Goddess for the very first time and I had 8 people apply. I had 7 out of those 8 people convert into the program, and I made $13,000 off of the program. And then I had one more person apply like 2 or 3 weeks in, and they joined the program even though we had already started. So I had ended up with 8 amazing humans in this space. And it was absolutely incredible. And, it's not just about the money. I think a lot of the time we talk about the money, but what felt different about this program and how I launched it was that it was like, I know I need to put this out there. I feel so called and so guided to help people in this way. And I remember that program had been on my mind for like a year to create and to birth, like to actually put out there in the world. And I finally did it, and I did it in a way that felt really good to me, and the results showed up. And so that was like my first, like, damn, okay, shit's working. Like, I'm making money. This is great. Like, I can do this. I can create a business that makes money. I can create sustainability for myself. And then I ended up signing on one-on-one clients from there, and it just kept moving. I was teaching also coach training. So I was making anywhere between $4,000 and $8,000 in a month. And my ex-husband was not working because of the pandemic. He was in the hotel industry, so all the hotels were shut down, everything. So it was all on me, you know, and it was really like, all right, universe, like it's now or never, like let's do this, because there was like no way that I could support us on just $1,000 a month, and I had used all my savings to invest in my business at that time. So it was such a beautiful moment of me really stepping into my power and balancing both the masculine and the feminine, you know, being the holder of the vision and working on my energy and really knowing and believing that I can do this and that it is possible for me, listening to my intuition, being guided by the universe, and taking action. Because this is a huge piece, I think, that there's so much, I think everyone's an extremist. I think that people really struggle to balance the masculine and feminine energy. There are people out there who are solely in the feminine, and they're solely doing the work to pray and to be better themselves and to, you know, like change their beliefs about money and change all of this stuff, which is great. But if you don't have any structure to hold the feminine, so the feminine is like this free flowing river, right? This is how I kind of conceptualize it. The feminine is this wild, free-flowing river. If you don't have any rocks to hold the river, if you don't have edges for the river wouldn't exist. It would just be a puddle of water everywhere, you know? And there would be nothing to guide the river to its destination. There would be nothing to hold its flow. So the masculine energy is equally important, but also if we dive too far into the masculine, which a lot of the business industry is very masculine oriented. It's very like, do this strategy, look at these numbers, do this, 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 and this. And I think a lot of people can get tripped up in this mindset. I know I for sure did. And then you forget about your intuition. You forget about connecting with the universe. You forget about doing what lights you up. You forget about opening to other solutions. You become so focused on that plan, that outcome, that you forget to open to possibility. That can just lead you down a dead end road as well, you know? And, you know, that's exactly what happened to me with following all the strategy. I was doing everything that I knew to do, that I was taught to do, and still it was a struggle. So that's kind of what led me here. And it took me forever. I became the manifestation queen, of course, because I was helping my peers manifest money. Like we would have conversations and make one shift in that conversation. And the next day, within the week, at least within the week, you know, my peers would manifest the kind of money they were wanting. Like I remember my one friend, she was trying to manifest this money, like this one client, in this one particular way. And I was like, well, what if you like open that up a little bit, you know, like what if you think about it this way? Or what if you give the universe options? Like what if you could manifest a client, you know, I can't remember exactly what it was, but like on a payment plan, or what if a client wants to pay you in full? It was something along those lines. And literally within a few days, she had a client come to her, and I'm pretty sure paid in full for her program. And she was like mind blown. I think she had like an $8,000 month that month. And I was like, damn fucking straight. And this is what I've been doing ever since then. I am a manifestation queen. I know the energy of, you know, how to use energy and how to open up your mindset and the possibilities. I know I can see very clearly when someone's energy is blocked, and I know how to speak to them and help them through that blockage to create an openness for what they desire. Okay, so here we are now. So I was doing, you know, mindset and manifestation for a while, and then it literally just dawned on me like a few months ago. Oh my God, I'm missing a whole part of my story. Okay, it dawned on me a few months ago, like, bitch, you help people make more money in their business. That is what you do. People come to you to build businesses. And let me tell you how much resistance I had to being a business coach, because I didn't want to be grouped into the business coach industry. I coach very differently. I'm accredited. I'm certified with the International Coach Federation. Trust me when I tell you that the majority of people calling themselves coaches out there are not properly certified and they're not properly coaching. There's a difference between coaching, mentoring, and consulting. And a lot of people don't know what that difference is. This isn't to bash anyone in particular, but just to let you know that there is a difference and to do your research before investing. Obviously, if you feel super called to work with somebody, follow that intuitive nudge. I'm going to be doing an episode on how to make aligned investment decisions. But, because I believe everyone that we work with is meant to be for some reason or another. But don't ever feel guilted into making an investment, and make sure that when you are investing, if you are looking for someone, make sure that you do your research and make sure that the person, knows how to properly hold space for you. So that's my rant on that. If you have questions, or maybe I'll do another episode on coaching. I realized, that I was super holding myself back. Literally what I have been doing for the past 4 years is helping business owners make more money in their business. I think I've only worked with maybe 1 or 2 people who are not entrepreneurs. The rest of my clients have all been entrepreneurs. People want to learn business from me. It makes sense. Obviously, I'm a Capricorn, so why not? But I had been holding back because of that fear, because of that, desire to not be affiliated, but also because I didn't want to teach business the way that business coaches teach business. I want to do it my way. And then I realized oh wait, Lauren, you're the queen of fucking breaking rules. And so here we are today. So, okay, I need to talk to you about what happened this past 2 years. Okay, so I was doing really well. Had my one-on-one clients, launched my mastermind, made 10K off of that. Everything was going swimmingly well, except for my personal life. My relationship was a hot ass fucking mess. I went to Canada December 2020. This is right around the time that my Saturn return started. It was December 20th or 19th or 22nd, something like that. And my birthday was on the 23rd. I had just turned 27, I believe. So Saturn return hit. I'm in Canada for 5 weeks without my ex-husband. But I just knew I needed to go. It was a long year with COVID, and I needed to be with my family, and I wanted to be home for Christmas. So I go, and things are just weird. I didn't really feel like talking to him. It felt disconnected. Oh, you know what else was really strange was I was doing a lot of reminiscing. And I found myself really thinking a lot about this one ex that I had. And I was like, this is so weird. I'm so over that guy. He, it just didn't work out. He's not my person. But for whatever reason, I couldn't stop obsessing over what we had and that fairy tale relationship. It was a high school relationship. So anyway, that was super strange for me because I had no desire to be with him, but it's just I couldn't stop thinking about it. So then I love how this goes from my business life to my personal life. So then I get to the end of my trip and I'm I don't want to go home. And Mexico has felt like home ever since I got here. I love living here. I love the people. I love the pace of life. I love who I am here. I love the food. I love the culture. I love everything about it. And so for me to say that I didn't want to come home was really strange. And I honestly don't even remember saying this, but my mom and my sister reminded me, and I was that's weird that I would say that. So then I get home, and you wouldn't guess what happened. Well, I land. My ex-husband's supposed to pick me up from the airport. I let him know I landed, and he tells me that he is too hungover to pick me up. So he gets my older, he's in his 60s, neighbor to drive our car, to drive his ass to the airport to come and get me. I was so fucking pissed off. I was just on vacation, and it wasn't even vacation. I was working my ass off the entire time to make money for your ungrateful ass who is driving my freaking car around. Ugh. Anyway, this isn't therapy. So anyway, that was like a big sign number one, but I was like, okay, I was talking to my friend Sarah and she was like, this is a big decision for you. Like, you were gone for 5 weeks. He totally was not able to show up for you because of his own selfish reasons. And not only that, but I get home and there's like, it wasn't clean. There were dishes everywhere. There were spider webs everywhere. It looked like no one had cleaned in like months. And it was just a really big awakening. Like, damn, this is my life. So I kind of just went internal for a while and I was processing and really processing. And I had invited my ex to therapy several times. No, I don't need therapy, whatever. Like, okay. And I've done a lot of work on myself. I believe there's always more work to be done. But I do a lot of work on myself. I'm in the personal growth industry. I know how to work on myself. And of course, I'm not perfect, but I do the work and I've grown a lot since I got here. And I just noticed like, okay, this dude's not working. Like, he's not doing the work. What the fuck? So what happens from there, I'm just kind of like brushing it under the rug. I remember my friend Carolina, she pulled this card for me that was something around the lines of like letting go. And I was like, what do I need to let go of? Like, I don't understand. And I remember reading the pattern and the pattern was saying, you're going to be approaching a fork in the road and you're going to have to make a decision. I was like, what the fuck does this mean? Like, I don't know what this is talking about. Is this about my relationship? Like, I don't know. Even though I think I was aware, I wasn't ready to leave. I wasn't ready to make that decision because that felt like a really big decision, So I kept going, with business. I launched my mastermind, which was awesome. Such an amazing program. I love that space so much, and I'm actually going to be relaunching it soon. So if you're interested in being part of a super high vibe mastermind and being supported to reach your next level of growth, stay tuned for alerts on that. Actually, you know what? I'm going to link the waitlist in the description so that you can join that if you are interested, because I literally cannot wait to launch it. And I'm going to be adding a retreat this year. So I'm excited for that. Okay. So I ran that. It was good. Work was super keeping me busy. I was working all of the time. And then my friend Alexis, my neighbor and friend and my now partner, had been getting super close. We became really good friends. We're super different. Like, we are very different people, but we started really connecting. And like, as we spent more time together, we really started just being able to make each other laugh. And we would joke with each other and really just enjoy each other's company. So, my ex-husband would work nights. She would come over and hang out, and we would make food together and watch movies or like whatever. We would just spend time together. We actually would walk the dogs a lot because, so where I lived in this apartment across from the dog park in this community, and she lived in a house like adjacent to me, essentially, like a couple doors down. So my door was facing the dog park and her door was facing the dog park, but from different directions. And so we just, became good friends. We enjoyed spending time together. We would go on walks every day with the dogs. And she became kind of like a highlight of my day. At the time, she was going through relationship stuff, and we were both in our Saturn return. Oh my God, crazy. And we were just kind of trying to navigate it together. I didn't really feel like I had anybody to talk to other than her. I talked to maybe like my friend Sarah, but for the most part, I don't like to involve people in my personal life, especially in my relationships. I always felt like relationship issues should be resolved between couples. So yeah, but this was definitely a challenging time for me in my life. And what's crazy is, it's so weird. I always maybe considered that I was into women, but never like knew for sure. I just kind of like was, I guess they call it bi-curious. And also because Alexis and I are so different as people, but we have a lot of the same values and we speak the same language of spirituality and manifestation and personal growth. And I think that's what really drew us together. And, it's crazy. Like, once I realized that we had something more than just a friendship, it was so obvious to me that the marriage that I was in was not it, So I'm going to save the details of our story for another podcast. I think I'm going to actually invite Alexis onto the podcast and we'll record it together because our story is very powerful. But what I want you to know is that during this time, remember I was during my Saturn return as well, and I think it's finally coming to an end. Shit was a hot ass fucking mess, let me tell you. Healing, like business stuff, it was so difficult for me to show up. And I believe that I had to go through this experience. Like, even though I was in a new, beautiful, loving relationship, was having the time of my life, started traveling, I felt like turned around. And I think the main reason that I want to share this with you is because it doesn't matter what level of business you're at, you can still go through personal shit and shit can fall apart. And at the time, I didn't have the support necessarily in place in my business, and I still don't. Like, if I get sick, I can put things in place and I can still work my business, but I didn't have someone to just run my business for me at the time. And so, things happen. And where I'm at now is I have, through this entire process of healing and allowing myself to be in my creative feminine and really allowing myself to travel and be in this new partnership and discover myself, because I have grown so much in the last 2 years as a person and also a business owner. And I've really stepped into, I think, what I've been meaning to do and what I've wanted to do this whole time. I literally started my business to be able to help women build businesses, to be able to help other people build businesses. And I've finally come to that point where I'm calling myself a business alignment coach or an aligned business coach, whatever you want to call it. And even though I have been helping people build businesses, I'm actually like saying it out loud. I've received so much clarity in the past year. I've really been reflecting a lot around what I do and what I offer, and I've been trying different things on. As a 4/6 here in the world, I am designed to experiment and try different things on. That's the 6th part of my profile in human design. And so that's what I've been doing. And I feel like I finally, like with my Saturn return coming to an end, I feel so clear on what it is that I do and how I help people. I have clarity around how I show up as a business coach. I have this new framework, the Aligned, Magnetic, and Profitable framework, that I'm excited to share with you to help you make more money in your business in a way that lights you up. And so all of this will be coming over the coming episodes. So stay tuned. I'll just close off by saying that honestly, like my whole journey through the past year, that has been super messy, but also super rewarding, because I've had the time of my life. I've gone through a ton of I guess ego death or whatever, if you want to call it that. Just a lot of struggles personally that I've had to dig myself out of, like mindset holes and all of these things. And I've learned so much. And the launch of this podcast really feels like a coming back, like making my comeback, And I'm just so excited that you are here. And I hope that today's story was able to reach you in some way, shape, or form. I know that it was a little bit all over the place and kind of just a lot of information about what I am doing and where I've come from and where I'm at now. And I'm hoping that you'll stay with me for the ride. So if you liked this podcast, I would love it if you gave it a review. left it some stars. That is how we will rank. That is how we will get seen by more people. And that will help me to grow as well. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying until the end if you're still listening. And, if you have any questions about anything that I talked about, if I can support you in any way, please send me a message on Instagram. I would love to answer your cues. I will see you in the next episode, and I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast today. If you like what you heard, I would love it if you left a review. Make sure you check out my website in the show notes to get the links to the launch party giveaway. There are over $1,000 worth in products and services to help you grow and expand. You will also find the link to sign up for the New Paradigm CEO Mastermind waitlist for an exclusive discount and special resources just for you. And until next time, I'm sending you waves of abundance.